did a man who defeated 1 million soldiers end up refusing to seek the same God who gave him victory? This is Asa, a man who tore down every false god in his kingdom with his own hands, a king who faced an enemy army so massive that defeat should have been certain. You'll watch God shatter that army before the battle is even decided. But years later, you'll watch this same king turn away from the God who gave him that victory and pay a terrible price. Years earlier, Israel had been one kingdom under King Solomon. After Solomon died, the kingdom split into two. The north kept the name Israel, and the south became Judah. The two kingdoms soon became enemies and fought each other for many years. Asa's father, Abijah, ruled Judah for only 3 years. When he died, Asa became king. Judah was in a terrible condition. False gods and idols were everywhere, and people had built altars to worship them, while many had turned away from the true God. This was not a small problem, hidden inside a few homes. The idols stood on hills and inside towns, and people had grown used to them. Children were growing up believing that this was normal. Asa decided to change that. He tore down the altars of the foreign gods, smashed the idols, and cut down the wooden poles that people used to worship a false goddess named Asherah. This took courage, because Asa was fighting beliefs that had been in Judah for years. Some people did not want their idols removed, but Asa did not stop. Then Asa told the people of Judah to seek the Lord, the God of their ancestors. He commanded them to obey God's laws. Asa did not only remove what was wrong, but he led the people back to what was right. Because of this, God gave Judah peace. The wars stopped for several years, and the people could finally live without always fearing another attack. But Asa knew that peace might not last forever, so he used those quiet years wisely. He strengthened the cities of Judah, where workers built strong walls, towers, gates, and heavy bars. Every day, workers lifted heavy stones into place, while guards watched from the new towers. Strong wooden gates now protected the roads into each city, so if an enemy came, the people would have somewhere safe to hide. Asa also trained a large army. 300,000 soldiers came from the tribe of Judah, carrying large shields and spears. Another 280,000 came from Benjamin, carrying smaller shields and bows. Together, Asa had 580,000 trained soldiers. Asa was ready for war, but he did not believe that walls and weapons were enough. At this time in his life, he knew that only God could truly save Judah. Soon, that faith would be tested. A man named Zerah came from Cush, a land south of Egypt, and marched toward Judah with an enormous army. The Bible says Zerah had 1 million soldiers and 300 chariots. Asa's army was large, but Zerah's army was almost twice its size. News of the invasion spread across Judah, and families inside the towns must have feared what would happen if Asa lost. An army that large could destroy cities, take their food, and carry their families away. Asa could have remained behind his walls, but hiding would only give Zerah time to move deeper into Judah. Asa marched out to meet him near the town of Mareshah, where the two armies stood across from each other. Hundreds of thousands of enemy soldiers covered the land, and chariots waited behind them. Judah looked certain to lose. Asa could have trusted his soldiers or the cities he had built. Instead, he cried out to God. Asa prayed, "Lord, you can help the weak against the strong. Help us, because we depend on you. We have come against this great army in your name. You are our God, so do not let these men defeat you." For a brief moment, the battlefield became completely silent. Both armies stood facing each other, waiting for the first move.
Before we continue, these videos takes hours and hours to make. Please like and subscribe and comment which country you are watching this from.
Then the horns sounded. Judah charged forward, while the army of Cush rushed to meet them. Swords struck shields, spears splintered, and the valley erupted into battle. Then everything changed. God struck Zerah's army. Zerah had come with 1 million soldiers, but even that army could not stand when God fought for his people. Judah's soldiers also took sheep, camels, and many valuable things from the area, then returned to Jerusalem with more than they could carry. Asa had faced 1 million soldiers and survived, but the victory did not come from the size of his army. It came after he admitted that he was powerless and asked God for help. As Asa returned, a prophet named Azariah came to meet him, and Azariah had an important message for the king. He told Asa, "The Lord is with you when you are with him. If you seek him, you will find him. But if you leave him, he will leave you." The message was clear. Asa had won because he trusted God, and if he continued to seek God, the Lord would remain with him. Asa listened. He removed more idols from the land, and he also repaired the altar in front of God's temple in Jerusalem. The altar should have been one of the most important places in Judah, but it had not been cared for. Asa repaired it so the people could worship God there again. Then he called the people together. People came from all across Judah, while some also came from the northern kingdom of Israel, because they had seen that God was with Asa. They came from the tribes of Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon. They left the northern kingdom because they wanted to worship the Lord, and Asa's faith was now changing lives beyond his own kingdom. Together, they made a promise to seek God with all their heart and soul. This was not an empty promise. The law said that anyone who completely refused to seek the Lord would be put to death, and the people wanted to show that they were serious about following God. They shouted with joy, while trumpets and horns filled Jerusalem with sound. All of Judah celebrated because they had chosen to seek God, and when they sought him, they found him. For years after this, Judah had peace, and Asa's people could plant their fields and raise their children without living under constant fear of war. Asa also proved that his own family would not receive special treatment. Maacah was Asa's grandmother and the queen mother. She held an important place in the royal family, but she had made a disgusting idol for the false goddess Asherah. Asa removed her from her powerful position, cut down her idol, smashed it, and burned it outside Jerusalem. Asa chose God over his own family. This was Asa at his best. He removed idols, repaired God's altar, led the people back to God, and listened when a prophet spoke to him. When a huge army came, he prayed. But Asa did not stay this way. Many years passed, and then another enemy moved against Judah. Baasha, the king of northern Israel, came south and began building a strong fort at Ramah, a town close to Jerusalem. Ramah stood on an important road, and from there, Baasha could stop people from entering or leaving Judah. He could trap Asa's kingdom and slowly make it weaker. The fort grew larger each day. Baasha's workers brought in stone and wood, while his soldiers guarded them as they worked. Soon, everyone who used that road would be under Baasha's control. People from the northern kingdom had been leaving Baasha and moving to Judah because they had seen that God was with Asa. The fort at Ramah would stop them, and it would also block goods from reaching Jerusalem. This enemy was much smaller than the army of 1 million men Asa had already defeated. But Asa was no longer the same king. Years earlier, he had prayed before making his move, but this time, he did not pray at all. Instead, Asa took silver and gold from the temple and the royal palace, then sent the treasure to Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram. Ben-Hadad had made a peace agreement with Baasha, but Asa paid him to break it. Asa said, "Attack northern Israel, then Baasha will have to leave Ramah and return home." This was a clever plan, but it came at a terrible cost. The treasure had been given for the temple of God, and Asa now used it to buy help from a king who did not follow God. The plan worked. Ben-Hadad attacked cities in northern Israel. When Baasha heard the news, he stopped building at Ramah and pulled his army back to defend his land. Asa then sent his men to Ramah. They carried away the stone and wood that Baasha had left behind, and Asa used those materials to strengthen 2 of his own towns. To everyone watching, Asa's plan looked brilliant. The enemy was gone. Ramah was no longer a threat, and Asa had received everything he wanted. But he had paid a foreign king with treasure from God's temple. And worse than that, he had not asked God for help. Asa had once trusted God against 1 million soldiers, but now he trusted money and a foreign army against a much smaller enemy. That was why this victory was really a failure. Asa had solved the problem in front of him, but he had damaged his relationship with God. God sent another prophet to Asa, and his name was Hanani. Hanani told the king, "You trusted the king of Aram instead of the Lord your God. Because of this, the army of Aram has escaped from you." God could have given Asa victory over both Israel and Aram, but Asa had chosen to make Aram his helper. Hanani reminded Asa of his earlier victory. The armies from Cush had been huge, with many soldiers and chariots, yet God defeated them because Asa depended on him. Then Hanani said, "The eyes of the Lord look across the whole earth. He gives strength to people whose hearts are fully committed to him. You have acted foolishly. From now on, you will have wars." Years earlier, the prophet Azariah had spoken to Asa, and Asa listened. This time, Asa became angry. He did not admit that he was wrong. He did not pray, and he did not change. Instead, Asa ordered his men to put Hanani in prison. Hanani had not attacked Asa or tried to take his throne. He had only spoken the message God gave him, but Asa now treated the truth like an enemy. The king who once obeyed God could no longer accept correction from God. Around this time, Asa also began treating some of his own people badly, using his power to hurt those who stood against him. The change was now clear. The Bible does not tell us exactly what Asa did to these people, but it makes one thing clear. He became cruel. The king who had once brought peace to Judah was now hurting his own people. In the 39th year of his reign, Asa became very sick. He had a serious disease in his feet, and it continued to grow worse. There was nothing wrong with asking doctors for help, but Asa only asked the doctors, and he still refused to seek God. The man who had once prayed in front of 1 million soldiers would not pray when his own body began to fail. 2 years later, Asa died after ruling Judah for 41 years.
These videos takes hours and hours to make. Please like and subscribe and comment which country you are watching this from. Also, any donation helps us create more of these stories. So if you could donate a super thanks, we would be very grateful.